we had done some work in the DuckDB extensions, mostly some, to be honest. I'm more of an enthusiast about extensions. I think this is like super cool work. So we're gonna be talking a bit about it. The main goal here is to show you guys what you guys can actually do. So that's what I want to tease a little bit on. And just to be very clear, I had questions about the octopus and the sun thing. There's nothing wrong going on here. There's just a Spider-Man reference. So just to make that very clear. Okay, the outline. Okay, so we're gonna first go why actually have extensions in the first place, what are the benefits, and why we decided to do that and have that as a design goal of DuckDB. Then give a little bit of an overview of how these extensions actually work, to show you some examples of things that you can actually extend today in DuckDB. Examples, of course, like if you have examples and they are completely open source, that's pretty cool because you have a base to work on. Then Sam is going to do a live demo. He's actually going to develop extension here. He's going to publish it, and you guys are going to be able to download it on your laptop. Is that crazy? Hopefully. Finally, I'll just give like some of the, in my opinion, the main takeaways of this talk and some upcoming features. So basically, other things that I can actually extend in DuckDB in the future. So what? All right. So I have extensions. Well, you can of course think that a database system can do a bunch of different things, right? So if you take DuckDB, for example, you can actually read CSV files and you can read Postgres databases. Well, turns out that a lot of people like reading CSV files, but maybe not a lot of people want to read Postgres database files because these start to be rather more specific. So we don't necessarily have to always distribute DuckDB with this Postgres scanner if it's not always used. So this would allow us to have a lighter version of DuckDB. Another very strong point is that in DuckDB we designed to have no external dependencies, right? We want this to be easy to be used. We wanted people can use it and deploy their own application with DuckDB without suddenly having to install all the dependencies and all the dependencies of their dependencies. And this of course limits you in certain things that you want to do. Because maybe you want to read this one specific format, that's already a library that you could have as a dependency, and we can't have it in the main DuckDB, in the core of DuckDB. It also helps us to keep our binary size in check, so things not explode. I already had the question about WASP. If we didn't have extensions, would already be worse. Compilation time also, we want to be able to develop in DuckDB quite quickly, to distribute the binaries easily as well because of their size. And also, I think this is a pretty cool thing. The extensions allow you to get DuckDB, not fork it, and still have your codes on top of DuckDB and create even your own private enterprise or distributed some kind of closed source edition. So, okay, so how these work, and again, this is just like an overview. I'm not going to go into the very deep details. Basically, the extensions have two steps. You can install them and you can load them. The install and the load, you can see here like the SQL commands, you basically need to give an extension name, or if you already have the local binaries, you can also give a path. The installation is nothing else than downloading it. So this actually only used if your binaries are on S3, for example, and the load is a DLL open. So it actually opens the extension into the core of DuckDB. And the nice thing is, if you use the extensions, they are developed and distributed by DuckDB Labs, for example, they are all in our official S3 buckets. So you just put the names there, you don't have to compile yourself, they are distributed for a bunch of platforms, super easy to use, super nice. The DuckDB CI automatically builds and distributes them, and is maintained and approved by us, so pretty cool, super useful. Can we actually bring this to everyone else? So people don't have to start building and distributing their own binaries, but also have some kind of boilerplate code that does that for them, right? Which is exactly you guys. So what about you? So what we thought, like, okay, we need the binaries must be distributed by the producer. There's really not much that we can do there, but we can of course allow people to set different endpoints, so S3 buckets for the install. So you can set your own S3 buckets there, and some will show later on that on the boilerplate code they developed, you can also set an S3 bucket where the CI of your extension will later upload your binaries. Of course, one of the disadvantages is that there's no checks on the source code from the DuckDB team, so from a user perspective, it's a little bit, you need to know what you're installing, of course. So in any case, the whole point is the boilerplate CI will do all the magic for you. All right, so what can you extend? Well, a bunch of stuff. So, for example, a lot of functions, you can extend table scanners. In that case, can be scan your CSV file, scan your Parquet file, scan your Postgres database. You can extend copy functions or table producing functions, where you're actually generating a table from within your database. So this would be, for example, the Parquet writer, or the CSV writer or whatnot. You can also extend a lot of the aggregation functions, the scalar functions. You can also use the different file systems. So for example, we have the HTTPS and much more. So you can also extend optimizer rules, catalog, parser. You can notice there's a little small letters that are not actually on the slides. The reason for that is because although you can do that, there's no open source codes that you can use as a base. So you need to be a bit more adventurous to go on that side. But for the other stuff, there's a lot of open source code that you can use. So some examples of what we have as extensions in DuckDB already. The Parquet scanner writers, so in this case again it's just a table scanner and a table producer function. HTTPFS, which again is just a file system extension. We have, of course, like the SQLite and Postgres scanners, which again are table scanners, but now actually checking binaries of other, actually checking storage files from other database systems. And we also have Substrate, which is a pretty cool one, because in Substrate what you can do is you can serialize a query plan and deserialize it and execute it. And this is also possible to do with the same table functions we have in DuckDB. So you can really do all sorts of things. And now we're going to go to the actual hard part, the demo. Oh, Sam,
it's already going.
This is not part of the demo. Yeah, I had one more slide, but yeah, sorry, you can take it away.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so as Pedro already explained, we've been working on a boilerplate or template repository. The goal is to make working on extensions super easy, because we want to see what you guys come up with for crazy stuff. So to make this as pleasant as possible to use, I will just show you now the steps it will take to get started with an extension. So here we have a boilerplate repository that will help you both build, test, and deploy your extension. So GitHub has this feature where you have a template. So all you do is you click create a new extension. So well, let's say demo DuckCon extension. It's not taken, that's fine. I have many of these repositories. So now it's generating, that's also cool. So now what you have is an extension, and if GitHub allows, it will already start running the CI. So it will already run some tests. It will run tests in Python, in JavaScript, and also in the SQL logic test thing where you just write straight SQL, which is very nice. So let me quickly switch over here through some live demo magic. It's actually not exactly the same repository for obvious internet reasons, but you can see that this is the same thing. It's just a fresh clone of the template repository. So let me start by just building, and this CMake warning is a reminder that this is in fact a live demo. But now we have built DuckDB with our extension. So let's just see what that looks like. The template, the extension template has one very simple function in there. It's called boilerplate. Thanks for the autocomplete. So if you call this, you can see that it's a very simple function that just returns a string. Okay, that's cool, but not very useful. So let's see, where do we start now? Okay. The first step you do is choose a name for your extension, which is made very simple. So there's a script which will do all the work for you. So let's pick a name, maybe DuckCon. Okay, let's see what happened. A bunch of stuff happened. Let's just build it, see what happens. So now if we run DuckDB again, the boilerplate function is gone and it's called DuckCon. Cool. Okay, that's cool. Let's add all this. We commit it, and now we're good to go. Named extension seems sensible. Very cool. Okay, so now let's start building our extension. To save you from the time of looking at me writing some code, I have actually made a patch. So let's apply it and let's see what happened. So I made some changes here. First of all, I changed the function and I also updated the tests. So let's see what I did. The DuckCon extension. So I will briefly go over this, doesn't really matter. So instead of this useless function that we just saw, which just prints a string, I changed it to a function that takes an integer and it converts it to a human readable byte string. So if you have a big integer, then it will say like, oh, this is 2 megabytes, which seems like, well, pretty useful. It's already in DuckDB, so it was very convenient. And I also had to change, of course, down here next to the DuckCon here, you can see I have to also take an argument now, which is a big int. So, okay, very cool. Let's see how it works. We build it. And now we can also directly use it from within DuckDB. So the extension is already automatically loaded into DuckDB and loaded on startup, so I can just use the DuckDB executable. And I can now say, select DuckCon, very big thing. Now we have a value. Okay, that's very cool. Now we just basically built an extension. So let's double check what's going on. We add all this stuff. Git commit. Initial version. Seems good enough. We git push. And we're done. What we did is we wrote an extension, rewrote tests, and we deployed it. And what's happening in the background now is that CI is running with all the tests. It's also uploading to S3, which is one small step that I did not mention yet, but you do have to pass your S3 credentials to your repository, which is I think over here, which I did not do for this one. But you set your S3 credentials. So let me go to a very similar repo that I previously set up where we actually have these. So here you can see you have to set a bunch of things, but that's basically it. And then what you then do is you create a release, which you can see here, which is just a tag. So you tag the version that I did. So this repository has the same 3 commits. So with the initial version, the rename, and the first version, you tag it and you're done. What will happen is the binaries, so for all your architectures, for the right versions, you can specify multiple versions of DuckDB for each extension version, by the way, are uploaded to S3. And what that allows you to do is, if we now go back again, I have this script prepared, which is this. So now I can use it from any DuckDB version, from any DuckDB, because I can just load it from this custom S3 bucket that I specified and install it, as Pedro just mentioned. Do note that the template repository now is not completely finished. It still points to a dev version of DuckDB, which is also what I have installed here. You can see this. So I have this version installed right now, as you can see, which works, that's nice. And now we can show you that this script that I just showed you, actually, this is not the right one. I can show you that this script now actually works. And what we just did is we loaded the extension that we built like super easily from Python through S3 from a dev version of Python. So it's super easy like this. You can, within like half an hour, if CI gods are like good, you can develop an extension, publish it, and anybody can use it from any client, like Node, Python, or like all of them essentially. So that was the main goal here, to make it like pleasant to use, to make it like, hey, I want to code up an extension and just do it and be done in an hour. Like you can do it, and you can like email Pedro like, yo man, look at this, and he can just install it, run it, and just basically have fun with it. I think that's it for my part.
Yeah. That was just a demo, guys. Still, there's more. There's more. Okay. So thank you very much, Sam. And just to finish off the talk, just some takeaways and upcoming features. Yeah, so as some hopefully showed and convinced all of you, it's very easy to use and it's very pleasant. And this is, I think it's also a core of DuckDB in general, is that we always aim for things that people can just use without this whole setting up step. And the whole idea of these extensions that really you can cater DuckDB for your very specific use cases. Without DuckDB suddenly blowing up in size, or in lack of code quality, or with adding suddenly a lot of external dependencies. And the boilerplate repo that Sam developed and showed you, it's really all about making things automatic for you and making it easy. Upcoming features, of course, like I showed you a couple of things that DuckDB can already extend. There's a lot of things that we also want to make extendable. So for example, here I have storage, which I think there's already a PR out there, soon to be merged. So people will be able to extend their own storage there. Physical operators, you can think of joins or sorting. So if you have a specific type of join that's really catered for your workload, for example. Data representations, you can think about index structures. So if you're developing, as Max is, an extension for geo information, you probably suddenly will need KD trees, for example. So this also needs to be extendable. Buffer manager, and again, much more with an asterisk. Like we really want you to be able to do anything you want. Super duper main takeaway, of course. The whole point of this talk is to really show that you guys can develop your own extensions right now. The boilerplates repository, it's ready for smooth development, easy binary distribution. If you look in the DuckDB repository, there's already a folder called extension where you see a plethora of different extensions that are already built there and that you can get inspired and see how they're doing. We also have the substrates and the post-root scanner, for example, in the DuckDB Labs repo that, of course, can also serve as inspiration. And I think that's it. We're happy to also get any questions from you guys. Thank you very much for listening.
Maybe one quick note, the template repository is online, but it still points to a dev version, so you can like mess around with it, and please do. But